Welcome to episode 214.
You're listening to Escaping the REI Newbie Zone podcast, where you'll learn the underground, closely guarded secrets that will revolutionize your real estate business. This podcast is all about helping you exit the real estate newbie zone and enter financial freedom, building up your real estate throne. This is Escaping the REI Newbie Zone podcast. And now your host, real estate investor, entrepreneur, world traveler, and nationwide mentor, Chris Bruce.
All right, welcome back to another episode of Escaping the REI Newbie Zone. I am your host, Chris Bruce. I want to say thank you for tuning in to this week's episode. This week, we have a very special guest that is going to come on the show in just a second. And before he does that, before I talk a little bit about him, I want to say, it's crazy that we are literally, two weeks away from the end of 2018. It has been a phenomenal year. I want to say I appreciate all of you tuning in every single week, listening to all of the episodes, sharing with me how this impactful information has, been such a tremendous help to your life. So I just want to say thank you. I'm going to continue doing interviews, continue dropping these nuggets and jewels week after week after week, going into 2019 to help you take your business to the next level. For those of you that are starting, get your business launched and profitable as quick as possible. All right, so today's guest is he's actually a guy that has been in the real estate and investment world for over 35 years, all right? And he actually graduated with an accounting background, and he worked for a local title company. But pretty soon, he launched his own escrow company, which quickly gained a reputation for being honest, hardworking, and fair, all right? So what he did was he took it a step further, and he formed what is now known as SunWest Trust, okay? It's actually in New Mexico, all right? And basically what it does is the company is based on offering clients real-world solutions to all of their self-directed IRA. So for those of you that are thinking about how can I save money on taxes, or how can I move money around, how can I, get ready for retirement, this episode is going to be for you. We actually dive in on how to invest in debt and why this actually could be even a little bit more lucrative than real estate investing. We talk about some of the different ways to use your self-directed IRA, and how you also can use your IRA to invest in real estate. So again, this episode is for you, the ones that want to really talk about, different ways to maximize your profit, right? Saving your profit with the IRA for retirement. This is going to be for you. So let's go ahead and wait no further and bring on today's guest, Terry White.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, like I said, welcome to another episode, and I have a very special guest on. So let's wait no further and introduce the man of the hour, Terry White. How you doing, Terry?
I'm doing great, Chris. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, man, I'm glad I was able to connect with you first and get you on the podcast. I know you are a podcast hoster, and you have a company where you specifically focus strictly on helping educating people, investors specifically, on the benefits of self-directed IRA. So I just want to say thank you for taking time out your day to get you on here, man.
Absolutely. Hopefully we can get some information out there that'll be valuable to someone.
Definitely. So for people that are listening and just hearing about you, can you kind of tell a little bit about your story? I know you've been in the business for a long time, but kind of just talk about your story, where you were before, and then how you got into this business work.
Okay. Well, my name's Terry White. I actually am the CEO of a company called SunWest Trust. And the way I got there was I went to the University of New Mexico, got a degree in accounting, and I was controller for a large title company here in New Mexico for a few years. And then I started an escrow company. I'm not sure if people know what that is, but basically that is I basically describe it as a mortgage servicing company, but for owner financing. So I'm involved in the real estate industry with that business. And then in 2004, we decided to start a trust company, which was SunWest Trust, and we started handling self-directed IRAs. So although we're a trust company and different trust companies do different things, we strictly concentrate on self-directed, both traditional and Roth and simples and SEP IRAs.
Gotcha. Okay.
So just real quick, what that means is the IRS doesn't tell you what you can invest in with your individual retirement account. They tell you what you cannot invest in, and they say you cannot invest in life insurance or collectibles. So we allow people to invest in all those other things that aren't life insurance or collectibles.
Nice. Okay. And just to kind of dive into that, so just off top, what are some other things that they can invest in? Just like maybe one or two other things.
Well, to kind of go along with your podcast, they can invest in real estate, and that's probably the biggest single asset type. The other thing, though, that they can invest in that people don't think about a lot is debt. So maybe people like real estate, but they don't want to own a piece of real estate. They might lend somebody money out of their IRA to buy real estate or to flip houses, those kinds of things. So people don't always think about that. And then outside of real estate, there's precious metals, private companies, private limited liability companies, those kinds of things.
Gotcha. Okay. So when it comes to let's in the real estate space, I know you obviously have dealt partly with a lot of investors that have used the IRA. What are some of the benefits that comes with investing into real estate with the IRA?
Well, let me tell you the possible downfalls first, because some people out there listening are going to think about the fact that when you invest in real estate inside your IRA, you lose a lot of the built-in tax benefits of owning real estate, depreciation, deduction of interest, that kind of thing. But I think one of the main reasons people decide to buy real estate in their IRA is, number one, it may be the only place that they have a sizable amount of money that it might take to get into real estate. So that's the first thing. And the second thing is, it's kind of nice to invest your individual retirement account in something that you can see and touch. You know, so many times most of us invest in stocks and bonds, and so we own a piece of that big company out there, but that's kind of an intangible thing. And so real estate is kind of nice because I can drive by it every once in a while and say, hey, I own that house in my retirement account.
Right. Gotcha. Okay. And I know, Terry, you talk about, like you said earlier, about investing in debt. And you actually say that this actually could be more lucrative and less stressful than real estate investing. So why is that? I never heard about that.
Well, so if you own a piece of property, Chris, you've got to deal with the tenant, getting tenants in it, getting someone to fix the toilet, getting someone to fix the roof, all those kinds of things. And then when the tenant moves out, you got to get it cleaned up. So as you probably know, there's a lot of things that have come along with actually owning a piece of real estate. So the other alternative is, let's say I don't want to own the real estate, but I still like real estate as an investment. So I could lend money to someone to, an example, we have a client here that I dealt with a few years ago, talked to her, and she has a nephew that buys houses and flips them. And she had some money in her retirement account. And because he was her nephew, he was not a disqualified party to her account. So she lent money out of her IRA to her nephew to buy and rehab houses. And then when he sold them, he would pay back her IRA. And then she would lend him money again to buy another one. So it worked out really well. And she was able to participate. And she even had an agreement, I think, where he paid her interest plus a little piece of the profit each time he flipped a property. So that was kind of a nice arrangement for her. She was able to participate in the upside of the real estate, but she also had kind of a guarantee on her downside in that, the real estate secured her interest so that if, for some reason the nephew didn't pay, she could take the property back.
Right. We see a lot of, like a lot of my friends, I don't do too much renovations, but I have a lot of my colleagues, friends that do a lot of rehabbing. they use a lot of lenders that lend out money out their IRA just in that
Yeah.
same type of situation. Yeah.
In the industry, sometimes that's called hard money. It doesn't necessarily always have to be. Hard money typically means, higher interest rates and stuff, but and it could be that, but it doesn't necessarily have to be.
Right. Definitely. Yep. So, I mean, it's definitely a good way for someone to leverage their money, outside of it just sitting around hardly making any money in the bank.
Absolutely. If it's just sitting in the bank, you're not doing that well. And if it's sitting in the stock market, that's done very well for quite some time, but you just never know when that's going to turn around the other direction.
Right, definitely. Okay. So let me ask you this. So when it comes to, because I hear a lot about Roth IRAs, self-directed IRAs, all these different IRAs, I know you stress more on opting for like a self-directed IRA over some other options. What kind of is like the difference, and what is the benefit of going self-directed?
Well, let me try to explain something that a lot of people don't really understand. Every IRA out there, IRAs were created by Congress in 1974, and every IRA out there is self-directed, meaning that you get to choose, as the owner of the account, you get to choose what you invest in. What the IRS does, though, is it allows companies like mine to decide what we're going to allow our customers to invest in. So your brokerage houses and your banks say, hey, we have self-directed IRAs, but you can only invest in the things that we sell. If I'm a brokerage house, I say, okay, you can only buy stocks and mutual funds, that kind of thing. So there are companies like mine, like SunWest Trust, that have come in the market very big in the last few years, but even in the last 20, 25 years, that said, hey, we'll let you invest in all those, what we refer to more as a non-traditional type asset, which would be the real estate, precious metals, those kinds of things. And so I have to be clear, and I think it's very important to make this distinction in that a self-directed IRA, like I'm talking about with SunWest Trust, where you invest in those non-traditional type assets, is not for everyone. I would say that probably the majority of people out there don't have any business using their IRA for that purpose, because they don't. Number one, they may not understand investing, and number two, they may not be willing to go out and educate themselves so that they make, a good educated decision. And then number three is, even if they're not willing to educate themselves, you can get a team of people, get a good realtor, get a good tax attorney, get a good CPA to work on your team to help you make those investments. But if you're not willing to do that, then you're probably better off just leaving your account with a brokerage house and leaving it in a mutual fund or something like that.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes more sense. Because if you don't have a business, I mean, obviously, you're gonna have some struggles of where to put the money, how to invest it, and things like that if you're not smart when it comes to that. So that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, and I see a lot of people that, unfortunately, that are out there just chasing returns, what I call chasing returns, and someone comes along and says, I'll pay you 18%, and they don't even understand what they're investing in or how this person's going to pay them back. A kind of a huge example that we've all seen in the last few years was Madoff. I mean, a lot of people invested in that simply because they heard other people that are smart invested in it. And that's a terrible reason to do something just because somebody else did it.
Yep, I agree. I'll be honest with you, Terry. I think Madoff got me.
Oh, really?
I believe.
Well, you're in good company, probably.
Yeah, I was young. I think I was like, I don't know, like 22 or something. And this was years ago. And it was one of those high yield interest programs that I got introduced to. And it was promising the world for a little lower investment. And I got into it. I mean, I only lost $300, but
but $300 is $300, especially when you're young.
Yeah, but it's just what you said. It's chasing the high return. Not really.
Yeah, and the thing is, Chris, it's like I said, people need to make sure they, don't invest in real estate if you don't understand how it works. I mean, if you don't understand that you've got to have tenants in it, and you don't understand how to run the, return, cash on cash returns and return on equity and those kinds of calculations, then you really have no business investing in real estate. So don't invest in debt if you don't understand the time value of money. It's those kinds of things. And that's where I see the majority of the people making mistakes and losing their money. And that's frankly why I love doing these podcasts. And I have over 230 videos on YouTube that explain different aspects of self-directed IRAs, just because I think people need to be educated and make an educated decision before they do something.
Right. I agree. Now, is there any huge tax benefits for, let's say, someone invests in real estate with their IRA?
Well, the big benefit, okay, so basically you have two types of IRAs. You have what's called a traditional IRA, which you make contributions to that with money that's pre-tax. So, some people might go to their CPA in, the first part of next year, and their CPA might tell them, hey, if you put $5,000 into a traditional IRA, you can save yourself money on your income tax. And that's because that money is deducted from your adjusted gross income before your tax is calculated. Now, that's a traditional IRA. And then the way a traditional IRA works is the income that is created within the IRA is tax deferred, meaning that you don't pay taxes on it until you start taking it out. And you can't start taking it out until you turn 59 and a half. So the advantage of any investment, real estate being just one of them, is that the income that you earn while that investment is inside the IRA, you don't pay any tax on that. And then with a traditional account, you start paying tax when you take the money out. Then the other one that we have is called a Roth. And the difference between a traditional and a Roth is the money that you put into the Roth, you pay taxes on it before you put it into the Roth. So it's not going to reduce your tax liability this year, because you pay tax on the money and then you put it in the Roth. But the advantage to the Roth is that if you meet a couple of fairly easy requirements, the income that's created inside that Roth is tax-free. So you would never pay tax on the income that's created inside that Roth IRA account.
Okay, I like that. I like the difference because you broke that down. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, so we got a lot of real estate investors that listen to this podcast, and I know you have some different ways that you can share with them how they can, invest in real estate using the IRA. So could you break just some of those different ways down?
Well, I think first thing I'd like to encourage them, they can go to my website called sunwesttrust.com. Okay. And there I offer a book that I wrote that explains to them a lot of the detail of a self-directed IRA. And then also we have a YouTube channel called Sunwest IRA. And there, like I said, we have 230 videos that a good portion of them talk about real estate, but they talk about all kinds of things regarding, non-traditional investments in IRAs. So those are two great places for them to go to begin getting an education on what they can do with their retirement account. And now, as far as specifically real estate, there's a couple of ways you can do it. You can buy real estate directly in your IRA, which means that you would set up your account with a custodian, such as Sunwest Trust, and then you would direct that custodian to purchase the real estate. You'd go out and find a piece of real estate and then direct us to purchase that real estate. So the title to that real estate would be held in Sunwest Trust as custodian for Chris Bruce IRA.
Gotcha.
The other way that it could be done is you could invest your IRA into a limited liability company and then have the limited liability company purchase the real estate. So in that instance, the limited liability company would own the real estate and all the membership units of the limited liability company would be owned by the IRA. But have you ever heard of a thing called a checkbook control IRA, Chris?
No, I've never heard that.
Well, that's basically what it is. And all that means is your IRA owns the membership units of an LLC, and the IRA names you as the manager of that LLC. And therefore, as the manager, you can open a checking account for the LLC and make investments on behalf of the LLC. It's a little more complicated than that, and I would encourage people, if they're considering that method, that they talk to a tax attorney or a CPA before they jump into it. But it's fairly simple, and as long as they're good at record keeping and they don't commingle that LLC money with their own personal money, and they abide by the rules that govern IRAs, they would be fine.
Perfect. Okay. All right. So now, for those that want to connect with your podcast, what is the name of your podcast? How can they connect with it?
Well, so my podcast is completely separate, really, from my business, and it's called Focused on Biz, B-I-Z, and it's just a podcast about small business owners. Well, not necessarily small business owners, but business owners. I am, like we talked about before the podcast, I'm fascinated by what people do for a living, and so I just decided to take my curiosity to a podcast, and I do a local radio show here in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and then I take that audio and put it on a podcast, and that's Focused on Biz.
Oh, okay. Nice. I like that. It's different. I'm pretty sure you came across some very unique businesses.
Oh, yeah. It's, again, and especially today with the internet and stuff, people can make money in just such interesting ways.
Yeah, I agree.
The idea behind the show, too, is just to encourage people that, if you don't have to necessarily go out and get a job.
Right.
Jobs are nice, and if that's what you want to do, that's great. But if you have a passion for something else, you can turn that into an income, and get by without a job, maybe.
No, you're 100% right. I agree. All right, and I know we talked a little bit about it, but I wanted to talk about your book that people can get a hold on to. So what's the name of it?
It's called, the name I'm going to have to explain. It's called If All You Have Is a Hammer. And what I mean by that is I grew up in the construction business. And so, if all you have is a hammer, Chris, then everything looks like a nail. You've heard that saying before, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
And so a self-directed IRA is just another tool that you can use to meet your retirement goals. And so, the idea is that, if you have a screwdriver, it's not going to help you very much if you're trying to drive a nail into a piece of wood. Or if you have a hammer and you're trying to put a screw in, you need a different tool. And so that's all a self-directed IRA is.
Gotcha. Okay. Perfect. All right. And how can they get a copy of that book?
Well, they can go to sunwesttrust.com. And on the right-hand side of the homepage of our website, there'll be a place to request that. And they can either download an ebook or they can give us their mailing information, and we will mail them a hard copy of the book. And that's completely free.
Nice. Okay, so guys, I'm gonna make sure I include that link. You said West Trust.
Sunwest, SUNWEST,
All right, so guys, I'll make sure I include that link also in the show notes, so that way, if you want to get your hands on this book, which I highly recommend that you do, all you gotta do is go to sunwesttrust.com. or come to the blog, escapethenewbiezone.com, and in the show notes of this episode, we'll have that link put in there.
Chris, Terry, I can guarantee that it's worth the cost.
Oh,
which is nothing.
So it's probably worth actually more than that. Well, Terry, man, I do appreciate you coming on the show and sharing some key information nuggets with everybody, because listen, everybody, no matter how old you are or how young you are, whatever, you need to be looking into the future for your retirement. And so this is a good episode to really explain to people the benefits and why they should be investing in their IRA.
Absolutely. Thank you, Chris. I appreciate your time.
All right.
Thanks for listening to Escaping the REI Newbie Zone podcast at www.escapethenewbiezone.com.